What does it mean for global stability when traders place multi-million-dollar wagers on a president's exit? Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Commute Commentary, where we look past the narrative to cut through regional bias. Today, we are diving into the massive global betting surge tracking Vladimir Putin's future in office. So, welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are jumping straight into something today that feels, I don't know, almost like it was ripped out of a near-future cyberpunk novel.
Yeah, it really does have that sci-fi feel to it.
Right. But I mean, it's happening right now. And it's a fascinating intersection of like high stakes, crypto betting, global economics, and, well, frontline military realities. So basically, our mission today is to unpack exactly why a massive wager on Vladimir Putin's future has caught the attention of both regulators and geopolitical analysts. And as always, we're keeping in mind that we're looking at this impartially from multiple global perspectives.
Exactly. And to start off, analysts and regulators are completely obsessed right now with this one anonymous user.
The one with the handle is not Louis Samez?
Yeah, that's the one. And they're sporting a Ukrainian flag as their profile picture.
Yeah.
So this individual stepped into a crypto-based prediction market and placed roughly $410,000 on a highly specific, highly volatile outcome.
Wow, 410,000.
Right. They are betting that Vladimir Putin will not be in office by December 31st, 2026.
Okay, so to really grasp the gravity of this, how do these digital prediction markets actually function? Because they don't operate like traditional sports betting, do they?
No, not at all. Users buy shares in an event's outcome.
Yeah.
So if the event happens, the share pays out exactly $1. If it doesn't, the share is worth $0.
Got it.
And right now, the broader market is pricing the probability of the Russian president leaving office by that date at just 12%.
Which means, basically, this bettor is buying shares for about 12 cents a pop.
Exactly the case. Because the crowd heavily doubts this outcome, the shares are incredibly cheap. But if this prediction proves correct, like if there is a resignation, a removal, or, any scenario where the leader is out of power by the end of 2026, this user doesn't just get their money back.
Right.
That $410,000 investment converts into a massive payout of up to $2.5 million.
Oh, wow. 2.5 million.
Yeah. And they are really doubling down on this timeline. This same account placed an additional $61,000 bet that Ukraine will recapture Crimea by the end of 2026.
Which I'm guessing the market also prices pretty low?
Yep, the market price is at a mere 12% probability as well.
So as a listener, you have to ask yourself, what is actually driving this? I mean, it's like walking into a casino and just slapping $500,000 on a 100-to-1 underdog horse. Is this just, a crypto whale with millions in disposable income buying a wild lottery ticket for ideological reasons? Or does this person know something we don't?
That's the huge question. And it connects to a much broader picture because U.S. regulators are increasingly eyeing these exact prediction markets.
Right, because there's always a fear of manipulation or insider trading.
The precedent is definitely there. I mean, the structural vulnerability is that anyone with an internet connection and a crypto wallet can just participate anonymously.
Yeah, and the source has actually brought up a really specific example of this, right? The one with the U.S. soldier.
Oh, yeah. Highly publicized case. A U.S. Special Forces soldier allegedly used classified intelligence to make over $400,000. He placed heavily leveraged bets on the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
And that was just before a covert operation was launched, right?
Exactly. Literally right before.
Wait, really? So if someone with a security clearance can just log on and quietly bet on a military coup they know is happening next Tuesday, then these aren't just gambling hubs, they are unregulated intelligence barometers.
That is a very good way to look at it.
So if this bettor isn't just burning money, they must see structural cracks in the Russian state that aren't obvious to the general public. What could possibly lead a bettor to foresee a sudden regime shift within 2 years?
To answer that, we really have to look at the internal economic data coming out of Russia. The state is basically operating in an economic pressure cooker right now.
Okay, lay out the numbers for us.
Well, financial reports synthesized from multiple global observers show severe strain, like mathematically unsustainable strain. The projected budget deficit for 2026 has reached roughly $100 billion.
$100 billion, wow.
Yeah, and regional economies are buckling. For the first time, 74 Russian regions are finishing the year with massive budget deficits.
74 regions.
Right. And to plug these immediate holes, the state is rapidly liquidating its safety nets. Gold reserves have hit a 4-year low.
Okay, but here's where the mechanics of a war economy get really fascinating and honestly incredibly grim. Because a massive chunk of that deficit isn't just going to manufacturing tanks or artillery shells, is it?
No, it's not. A huge portion is going directly to human payouts. According to the sources, the state is legally obligated to pay out 14 million rubles, which translates to roughly 140,000 pounds to the family of a dead soldier.
And it's 4 million for the injured, right?
Exactly, 4 million rubles for anyone injured. So when you factor in the sheer volume of casualties being reported, you are looking at tens of billions of dollars in mandatory state payouts alone.
And we have to highlight how this affects the everyday Russian citizen, right? Because when you inject tens of billions of dollars into the hands of citizens through death and injury benefits, those families immediately try to spend that money.
Right, they want to buy cars, home goods, groceries.
But the country's factories aren't making consumer goods anymore. They are entirely focused on military production. So you have a massive influx of cash chasing a rapidly shrinking pool of consumer products, and the inevitable result is just runaway inflation.
Which perfectly explains why the civilian sector is seemingly in free fall. We are seeing major chains failing. I mean, one deeply established, prominent supermarket chain just posted a loss of 22.5 billion rubles.
That is massive, and that's their first negative financial result in over 2 decades of operation, isn't it?
Yes, and it isn't because people stopped buying food. It's because the workforce has been hollowed out by military mobilization.
Right.
The supermarkets have to pay exorbitant wages just to find someone to stock the shelves, while their supply chains are completely fractured by international sanctions.
And meanwhile, the situation is so dire that Russian billionaires are publicly proposing some wild ideas. Like they're suggesting that ordinary citizens should work 12-hour days, 6 days a week, just to keep the war economy afloat.
Yeah, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a radical overhaul of labor laws.
But hold on, I want to ask a critical question here. If the billionaire elites, the oligarchs, who own these failing supermarkets and logistical hubs, are watching their wealth evaporate and their businesses collapse, why aren't they pushing back? I mean, it defies basic economic self-interest.
It defies economic self-interest, sure, but it perfectly aligns with survival self-interest. Observers point out that the current power dynamic in Moscow operates on the profound fear of wealth confiscation.
Ah, so it's essentially a shakedown.
Exactly. The state needs capital to fund the front lines, and the elites are terrified that the government will simply seize private savings or nationalize corporate assets. The state is effectively shaking them down to fund the war effort.
It's like being trapped on a sinking ship, but the captain is the only one armed, and he controls the only lifeboat. You don't mutiny, you just grab a bucket and start bailing water.
That's a great analogy. Stepping out of line doesn't just mean losing a government contract, it means losing everything you own. But, that economic burn rate is directly tied to what is actually happening on the front lines.
Right, the billions being burned through domestically are tied directly to the battlefield. And according to the sources, there are 2 wildly different narratives being reported to the world right now.
Very true. So, impartially detailing the Russian perspective first. The official narrative presents a campaign that is steadily achieving its strategic goals.
What are they claiming exactly?
Briefings from the Russian General Staff claim that since January 2026, their forces have captured 80 settlements and secured over 1,700 square kilometers of territory. They frame this as fully liberating the Luhansk terrain and successfully expanding defensive buffer zones.
But when you contrast this with Western and Ukrainian data, you are looking at an entirely different dimension. Their intelligence reports that the Russian advance rate has dropped 80% in the last year.
Down to just 1 square mile a day, according to their calculations.
Exactly, and the human cost of that single square mile is staggering. The sources highlight that in March 2026 alone, Western data claims Russia suffered 35,000 casualties.
And to understand those massive losses, military observers point specifically to the urban battle for the city of Pokrovsk.
Right, the urban meat grinder.
Yeah, it's a vital logistical linchpin, and urban warfare fundamentally favors defenders. The Western analysis alleges that more than 250,000 Russian casualties were incurred just around this one city.
250,000, that's insane. They claim that accounts for 20% of their total war losses, right?
Yes, 20% of total war losses within a mere 20-mile radius of Pokrovsk.
And while that's happening on the ground, Ukraine has shifted tactics to asymmetric deep strike warfare. They are bypassing the front lines and launching long-range infrastructure attacks.
Hitting the economic engine directly.
Exactly. Reports indicate Ukraine has hit 11 of Russia's largest oil refineries, including one in Omsk, which is, 2,500 kilometers away from the border?
2,500 kilometers, yes.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing reports of massive 430 drone swarms launched directly at Moscow.
Now, Russian air defenses claim to have shot those down, right?
They do, but the sheer scale forces a diversion of air defense systems away from the front lines. And, when examining why the Russian advance has slowed so dramatically, some fierce Western military analysts claim that the Russian generals are essentially mafiosi promoted because they have a gift for graft, and they predict a total collapse of...
That is their specific perspective. We do not endorse or validate that stance, but it shows how polarized the conversation has become.
Right, exactly. The polarization makes analyzing the true state of the conflict incredibly complex. We are presented with two entirely divergent assessments.
So let's connect the military and economic data back to the original topic, the leadership of Vladimir Putin and the geopolitical chessboard. Is this better misreading the man in charge?
Well, this brings us to a fascinating debate among analysts. Is Putin a rational bean counter, or is he operating on a mystical, ideological framework?
Right, because if he's a rational bean counter, he will eventually yield to economic reality, right? The $100 billion deficit will force a settlement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if he is operating an ideology where money is irrelevant compared to historical legacy, then you can't sanction him into submission.
Which brings up a specific analysis from the sources about the Ceausescu scenario.
Yes, the former Romanian dictator, Nicolae Ceausescu.
The idea is that an autocrat's inner circle could suddenly flip on him if the pressure gets too high. It's based on preference falsification. Everyone cheers for the dictator publicly, but the moment one person stops clapping, the illusion shatters and the collapse is instantaneous.
And analysts point to the mysterious recent death of influential Russian politician Sergei Ivanov as a sign of this brittleness.
Right, he was widely viewed as a potential successor, so trust within the inner circle might be evaporating.
But we have to maintain absolute neutrality here, because if you look at the world stage right now, there are completely mixed signals.
Totally contradictory. For instance, U.S. President Donald Trump recently stated that Putin actually wants to end the war.
Yes, but just days later, a massive missile attack hit Kiev, killing 26 people.
It's so hard to reconcile that. And meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky is at a NATO summit in Turkey, pushing for a completely new global security structure.
And hovering over all of this is China. They remain the ultimate wild card. Their support could single-handedly decide the outcome of this entire standoff.
So as we process all of this, what does this all mean for you, the listener on your commute? Whether these multi-million-dollar prediction markets are a genuine crystal ball or just wild speculation, they reflect real-world anxieties about global markets, fuel prices, and international stability.
They distill the economic deficits, the casualties, and the diplomatic maneuvers into a single, quantifiable metric.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought to ponder. As technology allows anonymous individuals to place massive bets on the fate of nations, could the prediction markets themselves eventually begin to influence the geopolitical events they are betting on? And that wraps up our discussion for today. Browse our show for more global insights and subscribe so you don't miss the next shift. See you next time on the Commute Commentary.